Welcome to Branco Broadcast. My name is Bob Branco. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce our speaker for the evening, Ms. Joan Myles. She's with an organization called, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, my computer sometimes pronounces things differently than the way they should be pronounced. It's me who?
Yismahu.
Yismahu. Thank you, Jeff. Yismahu. So without further ado, Joan Myles.
Thank you very much, Bob. What a thrill to be with you all. I am really looking forward to getting to know each of you and to telling you more about the organization which I started in 2010. And as Bob told you, it's called Yismahu. Yismahu is kind of an anglicized way of writing out the Hebrew word Yismahu, which comes from the Psalms and means they will rejoice. So I'll tell you in a little bit why I chose the name Yismahu, but first I'll tell you a little bit about myself and how this all came to be. So when I became Jewish in about the year 2000, as a blind person, I had a real challenge because I was looking for materials about Judaism and about Hebrew and about all things Jewish and couldn't find them. And I finally got hold of a book that told me about the Jewish Braille Institute in New York. And I know some of you know about JBI. I know Jeffrey in particular knows about JBI. And they are a wealth of materials in Braille and also on audio about Judaism and books written by Jewish people, and they have all kinds of materials. So they were a first great entry into what was accessible to me. But the more I learned, the more I realized I wanted to learn. So I got in touch with my local rabbi, and he turned out to be a really amazing and open-hearted person who came to my home and taught me about Judaism and got me started with various things. And then I decided that I wanted to go to graduate school and learn even more. So how was this going to be accessible? Because I live here in Salem, Oregon, and don't have a lot of access to things. So I found a school that I could go to online. I took all the classes online. The school is actually in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio, and I got a master's degree in Jewish education. And I was able to go to my school and actually meet my professors when the time came. That was a real thrill. But one of the things that happened while I was going to graduate school was that we were all asked to analyze the religious schools in our own congregations. So since becoming Jewish, I had joined the local congregation and gotten to know the school a little bit and even interacted with the teachers and taught a little bit of Hebrew. And all I could say was that our school was pretty dysfunctional, and so I didn't want to analyze it, so I created a class project and I named it Yismahu. And I decided that it would be my dream school. It would teach Jewish topics and Hebrew and make everything accessible to blind students, and it would be available from everywhere. And so I just kind of created this little idea, and I used it as a school project. And then when I graduated, a little time went by, and I thought, wow, this would be really great if it could come to be. So my husband and I looked into what was needed, and we actually incorporated it just about 6 years ago, April 30th of 2010, and then we started applying for the 501c3 certification from the IRS, and actually got that in September. So our organization is totally tax deductible. Any donations we get are totally tax deductible, and that has been a great help. So to have a nonprofit, well, first I should tell you the name, why I chose the name. So as I said, the word Yismahu means they will rejoice in Hebrew, and the reason I chose the name was because I started thinking about how blind people who happen to be Jewish have kind of two identities. They have that, being blind identity and needing certain tools that you need to function in the world, like Braille or large print or audio recordings, or maybe different teaching styles that a sighted student wouldn't need. And then being a Jewish person, you need certain skills and tools to function in your Jewish environment. You need Hebrew, and you need to have a certain knowledge of Jewish topics. So as a Jewish blind person, you really need both. To function in a Jewish congregation and do the kind of things you want to do or be as involved as you want to be, you really need both kinds of skills. You need the Braille and you need the Hebrew, and believe it or not, there really is Hebrew Braille. So you need that as a foundation to participate, and you also need the topics that a lot of people can't get anywhere else. JBI has a lot of materials where if you were a really persistent student, you could probably teach yourself, but if you're like most of us and enjoy learning in a group or with a teacher, they don't provide that, and based upon the research I did for my school project, nobody provides that specialized kind of learning that a blind person might require. So I named it Yismahu because I figured Jewish people would rejoice and blind people would rejoice and even sighted people would rejoice because we're bringing all these talented people, and I mean the blind people, back into the community and including them in worship where they want to be, or in Jewish community just interacting with the learning. So we founded Yismahu, and we made it's totally non-denominational. The coursework is available to all kinds of people. You don't have to be Jewish to enroll in Yismahu coursework. You do have to be blind or print challenged, and as part of our 501c3 certification, that is a requirement. You have to prove legal blindness, just like people do when they subscribe to, the National Library Service. You have to prove legal blindness. So once you apply, and you can apply online or by calling me or doing it via email, then you can enroll in the coursework that we have. Now, as a new organization, yes, we're 6 years old, but everything we do is we're feeling our way along. We develop our own coursework, and we started with a basic Hebrew reading course because I figured that is the foundation. So in Jewish worship, I don't know if you're aware of it, but a lot of Jewish worship and prayer is done in Hebrew. And when you go into a Jewish sanctuary, the prayer books are all right there for people who can see, and people just follow along and read the Hebrew or read what is called transliterated Hebrew, which is like English characters with the Hebrew spelling, and they follow along. Most people who use the prayer book don't actually know the words they're reading. They may know the themes of the prayers, but they don't necessarily know word for word what is said. But they're able to participate in a way that brings them into Jewish community. And I thought that is the foundation of participation for everybody, so Jewish people who happen to be blind should have that chance too. So our basic Hebrew reading course does that. It gets blind folks reading Hebrew, not with an understanding of the grammar and the vocabulary, but gets them reading Hebrew, and then they can order prayer books from JBI, or we can help them find these resources, and they can take their own prayer book or collection of prayers in Hebrew Braille to their own local communities and participate as fully as any of the sighted people. And to many people around the country, that is a real gift. You may know from time to time how isolated you can feel as a blind person. Maybe you've had that experience in your own church or your own synagogue or wherever you go to worship. You don't feel that you can fully participate. So this has been a great gift to a lot of people who have felt kind of lonely in their own congregations and want to participate. So we got the word out through various publications. I think our first students came through the Matilda Ziegler magazine, if you remember that. We've had ads in the American Council for the Blind periodical and the Blind Post. We put things in there. We actually had an article in the NLS publication, you know, the one that comes around, the Braille Book Review. We've had one in there. And I must say that one brought us over 200 enrollments. People were so amazed. I had so many phone calls and enrollments that I had to put a special message on our phone because they were calling day and night, and I didn't want them to be disappointed when I wasn't there all the time. So there really is a need for Yismahu. And since then, we've developed coursework in Jewish ethics. We have a monthly group that meets via conference call that does Torah study. They've been doing that for 4 years. And I actually teach 3 people. They live in various parts of the country. I teach them independently Biblical Hebrew and Prayer Book Hebrew. So you can see there's a lot going on here. We're always developing coursework. And now I want to give you all a chance to ask me what you want, because I want to leave lots of space for you. So
I have a question.
Right ahead.
Okay.
It's kind of a multi-faceted question. This is Alan, by the way, from Vermont.
Okay.
What was your faith prior to becoming Jewish, and what was actually going on in your life that caused you to seek Judaism and go into conversion?
Thank you. That's a very deep, thoughtful question, and I appreciate that. I was actually raised Catholic and always felt very close to God, but my beliefs didn't always jive with what was going on in my experience with the Catholic Church, and I've always been kind of a seeker. So I was always reading things about different religions. I read a lot about the early church. When I got my bachelor's degree, I took courses in the Bible, and I actually went to a Catholic college and studied it variously, and I kept reading things further back in history, and pretty soon I was reading things about Judaism, and that seemed to really touch my heart spirit. And the more I found out about it, the more I felt like it was my home in Judaism. And so that's when I started looking into how do I find out more locally and how do I go about converting. So that's my story. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And who's ever brailing, please mute.
So thank you for that, Alan.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Bob, this is Marcy. My question, I actually have a few questions, but I'll ask this question. As you know, we have, I am Jewish. You know how we have various branches: conservative, Reconstruction, Orthodox, Reform.
Right.
So how, when you converted, what did you choose to follow?
Well, I have to tell you, Marcy, here in Salem, Oregon, the only synagogue in town is Reconstructionist. We actually have a Chabad congregation that came along afterward, but our Reconstructionist congregation is so we're a very eclectic group.
Yes, I am a Reconstructionist because I was raised conservative, leaning towards the Orthodox. And my temple was sold for $1 in Mattapan. So the temple was dismantled, and we all went to different temples. And then we went with my older uncle, and when my dad died, I left that temple because the rabbi wouldn't help me because of my vision problem. I am sighted, but I only have 2 degrees in front of me. So I said, okay. I had a fight with the family, and I said, there's a temple down the street from me, about 1.5 miles away. I'm going to go there. I don't need family. I don't need these people. And it was actually like returning home because this temple is part of the temple that was sold for $1 when I was younger. And the rabbi said, excuse me?
You feel pretty good there?
It's like going home.
Oh, excellent.
I mean, good. Everybody welcomes you, and I don't show up for months on, and then they go, well, one of us will come get you.
Good.
And, I mean, I learned how to read Hebrew. I took a course. Because I was in a handicap program. So I can read Hebrew.
Good.
I actually, for the first time, went up to the Torah, and they actually, they opened the Torah, and I had my book with me because, when you open the Torah, there's no vowels.
Exactly.
So here I am, I got my book, and I'm standing beside the rabbi, and I'm reading from my book. And I made only 2 mistakes, which is pretty good.
That's very good.
And then, everybody else thought it was memorized. So then the rabbi was told by the president of the temple that this was my first time reading, and that I was bat mitzvah as an adult.
Uh-huh.
So I find that this particular part of Judaism covers everything.
Very good. Well, I'm so happy and proud of you. Good for you, Marcy.
Yeah. But there's got to be more research that I can find. You know, I enjoy it.
So if you're interested, you can go to our website, or you can call me.
Okay.
I'll send Bob my contact information and
Great.
a link to the website, and you can be in touch with me, and we'll see what you want to do. Okay?
Okay. That sounds great.
Very good. Anybody else?
I don't know if you can hear me because I tried to unmute, and I don't know if I did or not.
You're all set, Joni. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hi, Joan. My name is Joan also, but I like people to
Hi,
call
dear.
me Joni.
Hi, Joni.
Hi, hi, Joan. I'm Jewish. I grew up as what you said, a minority of being blind and being Jewish always. My parents wanted me to spend some time in the yeshiva that was in our town, and I went there for a week when I was probably about 3.5 years old, and they didn't want me. And the rabbi said, no, they didn't want me. They didn't feel that they wanted my child in their midst.
Right.
So, and I didn't go to Hebrew school or anything because of the same reason.
Right.
I was brought up in a kind of wannabe Orthodox home. We really were not Orthodox, but my grandparents were when they felt like it, kind of thing. But and I grew up in a kosher home, so I learned all about kashrus, and I haven't. Well, when I got married, I stopped keeping kosher and the whole thing. But anyway, your classes sound very interesting, my mom called JBI when I was about 8 years old and spoke with its founder, Mr. Dubas, and he was a wonderful person. And that time, the Jewish Braille Review, let me just tell you, I'm 76 years old. I was born in 1939, and one of the first people supposedly to have retinopathy of prematurity. And they had the Jewish Braille Review, and they had a children's supplement. So Mom said, oh, we'd love to get it. Joan will really enjoy it. And I started getting it and reading the JBR and have off and on ever since. So anyway, and I'm an avid reader. I love reading. So, but your ethics class sounds very interesting. Your discussion.
Well, good. Well, Joni, you sound like the perfect person to fit with what we're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We've had a lot of people who say that their experience as children and young adults and even, older adults were that their congregations didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the resources and they didn't know what to do. And so that's the kind of people that come. My hope is that people of all ages find us, but currently our students are people from about 30 to about 85.
Oh.
It's all adults and older adults because, as you know, people in older age are even more likely to lose their vision. So you're in the perfect age range, and you sound like a person who is thoughtful and can handle learning. You sound like that kind of person. So I would encourage you to be in touch, and we can see what fits for you, okay?
Oh, that's
don't have a whole lot of coursework, but that's our focus, is getting the coursework.
0. New message.
Pardon me?
What was that, Bob?
I have no idea. Go ahead, Joni.
It was an echo of some kind. But so that's our focus, is getting the coursework in the hands of people. We developed some of our own. The biblical Hebrew course that will pilot in the summer is actually a college textbook that I have adapted a little bit for our purposes. We're making it a reading course and not a reading and writing course. It's a reading and translating course, but the writing component of the exercises is being taken out, because even though I think Braille students could handle the writing, I think partially sighted students would have a really hard time. So we're taking that out. And also, as a Braille user, I'm the one that grades the homework, and I would have a hard time finding somebody to help grade things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please be in touch, okay?
I will. When Bob gets the information from you.
Yes, I'll send him the information tonight. So.
Joan, I have a question about Hebrew Braille, out of curiosity.
Sure.
Is it similar to Grade 2 American Braille? Does it have contract? Does it use the same 6-dot system with combinations thereof? I've never seen it, so forgive my questions. Go ahead, Joan.
That's a very good question. Hebrew Braille actually is very intuitive. It does use the Grade 2 symbols, and it assigns the sounds of Hebrew that are exactly the same as English. Like there is a b, like in boy. There is that. So that's the Hebrew bet, and it's the letter B, right? So that's very intuitive. Some of the other letters are you just have to memorize, but a lot of it is intuitive. There are no contractions. Luckily, Hebrew is very phonetic, so it's not like learning to read English where you have the same sound represented in 15 different ways. Hebrew is very phonetic, so once you learn the sound, you can read it. That's why so many people in congregations read along. They may not know what they're reading, but they can follow pretty well. So it's really pretty simple to learn how to read it. Now, translating it gets a little more complex, but that's as it is with every foreign language. So thank you, Bob.
Joan,
Sure.
this is Lauren, and I was knocked off the line, so I didn't get to hear. I was on at the very beginning, but then I got knocked off for a while when you were answering Alan's question, so I didn't get to hear, your history or anything. But I just wanted to tell you that it sounded like the courses sounded very interesting, and I was definitely want to get more information from you, and I might think about taking one of your courses.
Oh, I would love for you to. And, whether or not you're Jewish, it doesn't matter. It's open to everybody. We've had students apply from England, and we had a student in Nigeria who was a Muslim. We've had people that don't believe in anything, but they're just very interested. We've had a lot of Christians who take it as a way of learning about the foundations of Christianity. So there really is something, I think, for everybody here. So thank you, Lauren. I look forward to hearing from you. Anybody else?
Joan, it's Laura speaking. Are you actually reading the Hebrew from right to left, like we do in
No. Actually, Hebrew Braille goes from left to right, just like English. And my guess is, Marcy, that when it was developed, the technology just couldn't go from right to left.
I see.
So unfortunately, we don't have the experience of going from right to left. I wish we could.
It was much easier for me to learn Hebrew because I have a little dyslexia, so it was more easier from going right to left than when you read in English.
Sure. So how are you with reading English Braille? Do you know English Braille?
I read print.
Okay.
So
okay.
Well, I look at it and the words just go backwards.
Sure. Well, it'll be an interesting experiment, and we'll see what we can do, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? Jeff, Don, Karen?
Oh, let's see what. Let's go and see. Joan.
Jeff?
Hi, Jeff.
Yeah.
How are you?
Okay, Joan. Are those? Did you say that college textbook that you're doing, is that going to be like complete, like say several volumes?
Eventually, yes. The textbook itself is 55 lessons, but we're adapting it a little bit. So, and I don't want to frighten our students by handing this all to them in one big chunk. So we're going to be sending it out kind of in installments. We've got 30 lessons in the works, and we've got 10 of them totally ready. They're slightly adapted. I've kind of tried to make it a little more friendly and a little less scholarly. So it might miss some of the finer points of Hebrew, but to me the idea is to get Hebrew in the hands of people and help them translate what they're reading. So this will do that. It'll have all the elements you need to look at a page of Torah and be able to pick out a lot of the meaning for yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's the plan. Thank you.
Don, did you have a question?
Yeah, sort of. Believe it or not, Bob, you asked the very question I was going to ask about the Hebrew Braille. But I guess in conjunction with that, whoever takes your courses, Joan, they would have to learn Hebrew Braille from the start, right?
Yes. There's that potential. If you already know Hebrew,
sure. Yeah.
Then you can jump into the other course after you kind of prove that you know it. But otherwise, yes, that beginning basic Hebrew reading course would get you up and going. It teaches the alphabet and it gets you reading. And then the biblical Hebrew course would take over from there.
I see. Now, if I understood you correctly, there are no contractions, but are the letters the same?
Yes, Hebrew Braille is based upon the English the English Braille alphabet. So, for example, the letter A in English Braille, forgive me if I get twisted around with all these different things, but the letter A in English Braille is the letter Aleph, for those that know Hebrew, in Hebrew Braille, and it's a silent letter. So if you come across it, reading Hebrew, it's a silent letter, and if you read it, in English, then it's whatever it stands for. So, but and most of the letters correspond to Hebrew sounds that are exactly the same as English sounds. There are a couple of sounds in Hebrew that there is no way to represent in English. Like there's this very guttural, it goes like this, it goes like that, like you're clearing your throat. Okay.
Yeah, CH. Yeah.
That's represented as CH, and as an X. There are two different letters that make that sound in Hebrew. So, and then most of the other letters, so there are two Hebrew letters that sound like the letter S, as in snake, okay? Well, there are not two English letters, right? So we use the letter S, and we use the letter, the WH sign is also designated as that sound. So Hebrew Braille does use grade 2 symbols, but just reassigns them.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
I have an additional question, Joan.
Sure.
From the original Hebrew found in the Dead Sea Scrolls, when you translate your Hebrew into the Pentateuch or the Torah, do you try and go as closely to the original text as possible? Or even where God's personal name is there, where JHWH, with the Tetragrammaton, do you get into that in the Braille as well?
Wow, you're very knowledgeable. Is this Alan?
It is.
Okay.
It's Alan in Vermont.
Oh, Alan, very good. Well, in Judaism, we don't pronounce the I can't even say it, the J.
Pentateuch.
Yeah, we don't even pronounce the name of God. We say Adonai, or Hashem, which means the name, okay? So we don't even try to pronounce that.
Or Elohim.
Elohim means God, yes. And as far as getting right to the text, that's the whole purpose of the course, the Biblical Hebrew course, is so that students can access the meaning themselves and not have to go through that extra layer of an interpreter. Because, interpreters filter things according to what they want it to say sometimes, So the idea is to get close to the word, so that when they're reading the Torah or hearing it in the synagogue, they can pick out what they know, and they can go, wow, I know that word. It means God, or it means, house, or, So that's the whole purpose, is to give the student the access to the text. And I'll send Bob our mission statement. That is actually part of our mission statement, is to make texts accessible. So not
now,
only
when you do the Psalms, for instance, many of the letters are alphabetical. They follow a certain pattern and rhythm as you read it in English or in the actual Hebrew. Do you try and do the same thing with the Hebrew Braille to get the same rhythm and the pattern and the beauty of the Psalms?
So when you read the Psalms, yes, there is a rhythm, and I think the translators into English tried to follow the pattern of the Hebrew. I think that's the idea. And yes, for those Psalms that go through the alphabet,
yes,
that came strictly from the Hebrew. That came first, and then the English translator arranged things to make it work out in English. Okay?
Very good, because I teach biblical history and so forth here at the university as well.
Oh, excellent. That's exciting. Very good. Which university are you at?
University of Vermont.
Oh, very good. Well, that must be very exciting.
We do a comparative study getting into the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible. We look at those quite intimately and compare it to other texts as well.
Uh-huh. Very good.
Joan, I'm wondering if you do anything with Yiddish at all.
No, I don't. JBI may have some things in Yiddish. So I'll see if I can get you that information too. Okay? Is this Joni?
Yeah, it's Joni.
Yes.
Well,
so
I don't know that much Yiddish. I really I like reading books like The Joys of Yiddish, which I never finished, but those are so good because there are several books. There's humorous books and kind of explaining Yiddish to the layman. And they're just, I forget the author's name. And that book came out several years ago.
Leo Ralston.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you. That's right. It was Leo Ralston.
Oh, very good.
But I don't know. My parents used Yiddish as a way of talking about different things that my sister and I would, so we wouldn't know what they were saying.
Talking around you, yes.
Yes. So we didn't get to learn too much, although I learned some things, but not enough. So I just wondered if you would.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Joan, you mentioned a course, ethics course. You had mentioned that to Joni. What is that course regarding?
So the Jewish ethics course, we try to keep our courses somewhat small, as in terms of lessons, because just so they're not overwhelming to people, at least in the beginning. This course is still being developed. It will have 5 lessons in all, and it's Jewish ethics, as you may or may not know, kind of form the foundation of a lot of the ethics in our lives, as far as legal matters and moral behavior. You'd be amazed how they are the foundation of so many things. And
sounds very interesting.
It just gives you a little taste of, what's involved. So like the first lesson is all about mitzvot, which are the commandments, and it draws upon texts from the Torah. Other lessons talk about like how to treat animals, and the texts that are included may come from the Talmud, which is another Jewish, which is more Jewish literature. And so it's basically to get students thinking and reflecting about Jewish ethics in their lives, or ethics in general in their lives, and seeing how they're founded in Jewish literature. So if you're interested, please be in touch, and I can get you connected to that. So we're still working on the final lesson, but we can send
that sounds so good, Joan.
Oh, good. I'm glad you like it.
Joan, how do we apply?
How do you apply? You can go to the website at www.yismahu, just like it's spelled in Bob's note, .org, and there's a link there for enrollment, okay? If you want to get in touch with me personally, I'm the director of Yismahu, and I'm the teacher. You can write to me at director@yismahu.org.
Now, for the benefit of Dawn or anybody else that doesn't have a computer, I'm going to spell Yismahu because I don't think, well, of course, Dawn doesn't have a computer.
I can spell it.
Too, but it's YISMEHU.
Thank you.
I'm
Spell it
lucky
again,
I can
Bob.
say it.
Okay, it's YISMEHU.
Okay, and you're going to send it in the email to us anyway, right? With all her contact information?
Yes, when Joan sends me her contacts, I will do that.
Yes, and I'll
that's great.
I'll send Bob my phone number, the phone number for the office. And
I already know that one.
I know you do.
Jeffrey's way ahead of us.
He is.
Jeffrey's been with me from the beginning. We've been talking a lot. So
oh, that's great.
So you'll have all the information, and you can be as involved as you want to be. And by the way, if you didn't already know, the coursework is free for people that qualify, which, if you're blind, you qualify.
So you just need a certificate of blindness.
You need a certificate of blindness?
A statement of blindness. So if you want to be in touch with your libraries, I've had a lot of libraries send me notes about blindness, or a school. If you're a student at Hadley School for the Blind, they've sent me things from students. Just a letter from your doctor, any little thing that can prove your legal blindness. Okay. And then once I have that, I send out a little, what I call an orientation, and it's just kind of to tell you a little more about Yismahu and to make sure people can follow directions. I have no concerns about you all, but and it has a few questions and a little story to read, just so I can know that you're up to answering questions. And then we send out the material and everything begins. So, and some people do the coursework totally independently. They, read the lesson and send in their assignment by mail. I get a lot of things in Braille, or if they're written out, I have somebody read them to me. Some people send their assignments in as cassettes, or they make attachments for an email. And some people actually make an appointment and do their assignments over the telephone. So I try to make it accessible for everybody, because a lot of our people don't use a computer, and they would rather do it over the phone, or So
Don, you could even do it.
Yeah. Yes, I could. Yes.
Yeah. We try really hard to make it accessible for everybody. So I do want to say that the people I have gathered as members of the Yismahu board are really incredible. I couldn't have this organization without them because it's required, and they bring so much to it. I have a friend who was the first rabbi who taught me. He's on the board, and the president of the board is a teacher at the religious school where I also teach, and one of the other board members is my oldest friend who lives here in Salem, and we have done some learning together. And they come to board meetings. They help develop the curriculum. They, listen to me rant occasionally when I get frustrated, and they support the learning. They're all sighted people, and they support this organization so heartily. I just want you to know that there are sighted people that are really for this organization. And my husband, too, he's the one behind, the wizard behind the curtain, because he does the brailing. He makes the embosser work when it gets cranky. And he helps me with the sighted elements that I couldn't handle. So I want you to know that I don't do this alone. I'm the person that gets the fun of interacting with students and with people like you who are interested, but there's another group that don't get any of the glory, and they're very important too. So.
I have one final question. Do you have the materials to bring a person to their bar and bat mitzvah?
I could do that. I actually am I'm a bar mitzvah tutor at our congregation, so I could actually do that. Yeah, I've been teaching Hebrew in our congregation for about 10 years, and I do the training for that. Well, we're actually between rabbis, and I've been able to work with the kids. So,
Joan, I don't know if this is too personal, but is your husband Jewish?
He's not Jewish, no. When we got married, I was Catholic and he was Christian, not Catholic. And then he's been with me the whole time. He was very supportive when I became Jewish, and he didn't want to get involved with it, but he does transport me everywhere I want to go. I go to a lot of things at the synagogue, and he's my chief partner in getting there. So
that's fantastic.
That's great.
I was married to a man who was not Jewish.
Was he supportive of what you?
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, he was very supportive, and I was supportive of his religion. But then we got a divorce. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but it didn't have anything to do with religion.
Of course.
But I just I'm sorry if you thought that was too personal, but I just was wondering.
No, you can ask anything. I mean that's why I'm here. So I am interested in how you all handle whatever worship you're involved in or other activities, if you're able to be active in your community congregations as much as you are interested, or if you find them kind of lacking, because that's something I also hope to improve in other people's
This is
lives.
Karen. I just wanted to say something.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that what you're doing is great, and I think I'm Catholic, and I think our church could learn a lot from you as far as improving participation, because granted I can go to the Mass and I know the responses and things most of the time, but I keep on postponing getting stuff from the Xavier Society. I know I can get stuff, I just keep postponing getting it. But I think the churches could learn more about participation, because I participate by baking. I'm a good cook, and I bake things for the bazaars and things like that. If something's coming up, I bake something for, my church. I do that. And I have to get a ride to Mass because out where I live in Leominster, they don't have ride transportation on Sunday.
Right.
And that's generally when I usually go, so I get a ride usually. But I think what you're doing is really good. And our church is more and more integrating things about Judaism into our faith, because during Lent, our priest tries to integrate stuff about Judaism into.
Good. Well,
about how Jesus was a Jew,
to join us,
things like that. Yeah.
And I hope they find a way to give you what you need. Are you able to speak up for yourself?
It's partly up to. Sometimes I just don't, because I used to get stuff from Xavier Society. I don't, but it's just up to me to probably get the stuff.
Yeah.
As you can get them free, I think, from it.
Yeah. Well, I wish you luck with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I want to thank you, Joan Myles, for being with us this evening to talk about Yismahu and all that it entails. And I hope that you get a good response from everyone as far as participation and involvement with the course and other material that you offer. And I want to thank you on behalf of everybody listening this evening.
Thank you, Bob. It was really wonderful to be here, and I'll come back and anytime you want, and I look forward to hearing from all of you as soon as you get the contact information.
All right, very good.
Yeah, thank you very much. She has a
Thank
sweet
you so
voice.
much.
Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. Have a good
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.